Hi everybody, this is Cindy over at paper.old.new. I am finally getting started on making those sunflower journals I keep talking about and I referred to in a lot of my haul videos and stuff. So I was going to take you through the process of getting the covers ready to go because right now, like you've seen in some of my other videos, I'm kind of an assembly line worker, especially when I've got multiple of something to make. So I do one stage on everything and then I move on to the next. So right now we're at the creating the covers stage. And what I have done is I have created, I don't know if you guys remember these. It was a party kit, right? And it had these placemats in it. And I said that they would make neat journal covers. So I measured them off and I figured out how big I need my file folders to be cut down to fit inside with some overhang to fold over. Okay. And so what I did was my outer cover needs to be 10 folded. I cut them folded. So it needs to be 10 inches tall. So I've got to cut some off of the top, off of this end to make them the right height. So we're going to take off to make these 10 inches this way. And guys, can I just say that these fabric cutting mats are great. I had a cutter, a paper cutter, because I did a ton of scrapbooking. I had a paper cutter and it went bad on me, and I'm sure there's probably some replacement part I could have done, but I ended up getting rid of it. It was a cheaper one. And now they've all gotten so expensive and I haven't bought one. This cutting mat with a rotary cutter was cheaper. So for now, that's what I use. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and a quarter. And I will have to say that as far as measuring and getting nice straight cuts, it's really nice. And because it's got these little seam allowance dots, I can get down to the 1/4 inch, which is also really nice. And if I really want to break out the big clear ruler that came with it, I can get down to the 1/8 inch. But that slides when I try to cut. I don't know. If any of you know a secret to keep that from sliding, let me know. Maybe I'm just pushing on it too hard. Maybe that's, all it is. Okay, so that gives me an outer cover. Then what I do is, so before I do an inner cover, because I'm going to have an outer and an inner to cover up those edges when you fold over. So what I've been using for this is the Mod Podge. However, I do not think that I can cover the whole thing without, like, where I started drying out. So I sort of cover it in halves. So I will put half of the cover on this one, and then it will lay under a stack of books until it dries, and then I will glue down the other half. Oh, for Pete's sakes. And I like to put on like a nice heavy, thick coat for this particular layer because those placemats, they're not like thick fabric placemats or anything. I mean, it's a plastic coated paper placemat. But it is a different material than if you were just doing paper. All right, let me go around the edges to make sure they stick really good. And then the other thing is I don't like now take the placemat and lay it on top. I take the placemat and lay it upside down. And then I put the folder on top so that I can make sure I'm centered. So let me show you what I mean. So I take this and I lay it here. Oh, make sure we're right side up. I guess it doesn't really matter. I just flip it whichever way when I'm done. And then I lay this down and I make sure that I'm centered in the placemat. So those are my edges. I just eyeball it. I mean, I'm not measuring to see that I'm centered, but I eyeball it to make sure I have enough to fold up all the way around. And then get out my bone folder, put it down as best I can. Mostly I'm doing this to make sure there aren't any wrinkles in the middle. Because if there are wrinkles in here, in the center area, then when I go to lay it under the book, that wrinkle will become permanent. So I just want those out, and then laying it under the book to dry will help keep it from, will hold the edges down. I need a heavier book. I'm going to need more books. Said no junk journaler ever, right? Okay, now the inner cover, I have several sheets of this kind of sunflower doodle paper, which I think is really cute. So what I decided to do was the inner cover is going to be slightly smaller than the outer cover. So my measurements for that were to cut the folder down to 9 3/4. So let's cut it this way. So 9 3/4, and I hold on to my file folder scraps. I mean, these make good bookmarks, good tuck spots, good whatever. They're nice base material. Okay, and then I cut this way 6. Make sure it's straight along there. So I got a nice straight edge. And I cut this off to 6. All right. Now the idea here is the same, except I'm gluing. I have a stack of folders over here off to the side. Except I'm gluing inside the, yeah, that's a big one. Except I'm gluing inside the fold. Okay, and I'm going to make sure that, see this part here? Because what my thought was to glue this down, and then there's not enough here. I mean, I could cut it off and it can be a cutoff for me to use later. Or I can fold this up and these can be pockets. I don't, however, want that to show. So since this isn't directional paper, I'll turn it this way so that I'm gluing down the price mark. And then once I get this dry, I can glue that down. We are going to go by the same concept that we did before, and I'm going to glue it half at a time. Just because that's just me being weird about the glue. I just don't want it, I don't want to fight with it as far as trying to race to get enough down before it dries on half. Because I feel like you don't, with Mod Podge anyway, I feel like it doesn't have a lot of time to just sit in the air, or in the open air. And I assume the drier your climate, the worse that is. So, I mean, or even like the warmer it is in your house or whatever. So get all the edges. And then for this one, I don't want to center, well, I do want to center it, but it's 12 inches wide. So what I want to do is line the corners up. So we're going to put this down and we're going to kind of line this up. Make sure I had that price thing up there. Line this up straight. Down both sides. And then I'm gonna flatten it out. And under the book it goes. I got a lot of things under these books, guys. Okay, so that's some inner covers and some outer covers sitting waiting to dry. Some other things I've started working on. I mean, I think I've shown you guys all this extra. Like I have all of this sunflower paper. There's some more of the doodles. I have all this paper picked out to go in the sunflower journal. And then I also have some other like ephemera pieces. And where's my little basket? I have a basket full of stuff for sunflower journals. So, but what I did do was I took the napkins that came in the party set and I decoupaged some book pages with them. So I have these to make some pockets or something out of, some tucks. maybe some clusters depending on how this gets cut up to make pockets and whatnot. Or, you know, it might get a piece of book page or something glued on top of it and be an insert, like something that you clip to a page, or maybe I'll use a piece of it to make an altered paper clip. So I have done a little bit of, you know, prepping and looking and reaching ahead for things to work on those. So what I will do then is off camera, I will go ahead and work on getting the covers all plastered down. And then when we come back, we'll work on making pages. So like I said, I'm kind of an assembly line worker, so it kind of works with me to do all the covers first and get that out of the way. Now for the inner covers, I was thinking, and we're going to take a look at this ribbon because I don't know how flexible it is. I was thinking that I can do two different kinds of closures since I'm doing an inner cover. One of my thoughts was to glue ribbon between the two covers and then use it to close the journal. I'll get it out. Just give me a minute. This is kind of a stiff, papery ribbon, though. I don't know that I would use it for... I mean, it can be used for borders and stuff. I don't know that I would use it to tie things. It's kind of not a tie ribbon. Yeah. So, so not that, but I wanted to get some sort of ribbon to maybe fold in between the layers and make a tie closure. I also thought that since I have a couple, I would get some, like I have all these little eyelets. I was thinking I could punch some circles and make a couple of the policy folder holders, policy envelope closures, tongue-tied, I don't know. And then I also have some buttons that I might make some closures out of. Same idea, wrapping string around. So yeah, a couple of different ideas there for closures. And the other thing is I'm working on deciding whether or not I'm going to take the inner cover, sew the signature in, because these are going to be single signature journals. Sew the signature in and then glue it down so that it's hidden, or glue the inner cover into the outer cover and then sew the signature in so that I've got an exposed spine down the back. So those are a couple of the things that we'll be working on in this Sunflower Journal series. So I hope to see you back. And when we come back, we'll be picking pages. So I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.